Austin Theory, if you've only been watching the last year or so, has been fine, largely good even I'd say, but for quite a while he wasn't exactly in a great spot. Be it for a certain golden egg, or a botched Money in the Bank cash-in, or a gimmick largely reliant on people hating millennials and selfie culture. Quite frankly, Theory had been on quite the awkward trajectory for some time. However, as is the case with most who make it to the dance in WWE, there has and likely always will be another opportunity to prove their worth, and I reckon personally that Theory has been doing just that as of late. That said, today we're going to be talking about all the highs and lows of his career so far, and summing it up by seeing how the $150 Hitman has managed to brave the storm and come out the other side as a face that will undoubtedly be headlining this generation of superstars. If you enjoyed this video, it'd help me out a ton if you'd scroll down and click the like button, and if this video hits, let's say, 400 likes, I'll make another video documenting the career of his current tag team partner, Grayson Waller. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video once it's out. All that said, sit back, pop some bottles, and let's take a trip to A-Town. Austin Tyler White was born on August 2nd, 1997 in McDonough, Georgia. Not to be confused with JD. From early childhood, Austin would grow up idolizing and adoring John Cena for much of his early life, and because of that influence, he sought to become a wrestler just like his idol. He would make his professional wrestling debut on May 5th, 2016, and would begin using the ring name Austin Theory. In his debut match, he would face off against AR Fox and would defeat him to become the World Wrestling Alliance Heavyweight Champion. And across his indie days, this would not be the only championship he would collect. And just to name a few of those, Theory captured the WWN Championship after defeating Keith Lee, as well as the FIP Heavyweight title when he defeated Fred Yehi. And finally, Austin would defeat Fabian Eichner and Roderick Strong to win the Evolve Heavyweight Championship. All of these titles would be won by Theory between the years 2016 through 2019, meaning that at minimum, Theory was certainly a hot prospect and was impressive enough to wave the flag of several of these notable places. However, in August of 2019, he would of course get the call from WWE. After initially signing, it would take about 4 months until we would see him have his debut in the ring against the likes of Roderick Strong, who was hosting an open challenge. Theory would prove unsuccessful in this match, but this very clearly was a test of sorts, and instead of sticking around in developmental at that time, they instead elected to rocket him straight up to the main roster, where he was paired up with Zelina Vega and Angel Garza. Angel and Austin as a tandem would team as a pair of heels with Seth Rollins against the Street Profits and Kevin Owens in a losing effort on Raw. Even still though, just a week later, in Theory alongside Garza would be given their first WrestleMania match against then Raw Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits, on Night 2 of WrestleMania 36. Mind you, it was the Performance Center Mania, so I wouldn't really be surprised if you didn't remember this match at all, because frankly, I had to triple check that this even happened personally. But yeah, pretty much 8 months after signing with the WWE, Theory was already competing for championship titles at WrestleMania. He would spend some time on the main roster as part of an unnamed faction with Garza, Zelina, and Andrade before Angel and Andrade turned on him due to Theory accidentally costing them a tag match against Apollo Crews and Kevin Owens. However, later on that same night, he would assist Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy in attacking Aleister Black, and was added to the Monday Night Messiah's faction as one of his disciples. He would stick around with them for about a month before on June 22nd, he stopped appearing alongside the faction and was seemingly brought back down to NXT. He would first reappear on the brand on August 26th by interrupting Bronson Reed before the pair faced off at Super Tuesday, where he would be defeated by the big man. Then, if you fast forward a few months, Austin seemed like he would be joining yet another faction after he helped Johnny Gargano capture the NXT North American title at December 6th NXT TakeOver War Games. Then, just a few days later on NXT, he would be revealed alongside Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell as part of the heel faction, The Way, where Austin would basically act as Johnny Gargano's son, even though he's only like 10 years younger than him. Yeah, it was a little odd, but genuinely made for some really funny and good moments on TV. So personally, after some time, I really grew to love this iteration of the Theory character, and genuinely see it as a massive highlight of his WWE career so far, personally. Seriously, just look up some of his segments with the rest of The Way and tell me they aren't extremely good as a group. And while the segments were good, unfortunately as an in-ring competitor, this wasn't exactly a run that showcased him all that well. He and Gargano lost in the first round of the 2021 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, as well as he was more or less there to help Gargano cheat to retain the North American title, and that was kind of it. He really didn't do that much of note during this time outside of that, and his final NXT appearance would be during the Index Wedding, which, if I can be so bold, is one of the best segments in NXT TV history, if only for Dexter Lumis saying this.
I do.
From here, Austin Theory will be called up for a second time to the WWE main roster, this time as a part of the 2021 WWE Draft, where he would be brought back to the Raw brand. After being brought in, he would be put in a short feud with Jeff Hardy, whom he would soundly defeat twice on back-to-back episodes of Raw. Additionally, he would be added to the 2021's Raw Survivor Series team after Rey Mysterio was injured, and during that Survivor Series match, he was even able to knock off Sheamus before Jeff Hardy managed to pick him off. Still a solid showing for the guy all in all. During the 2021 Survivor Series, however, Vince McMahon had an interesting storyline unfolding with himself being involved with Theory on TV. Vince is an awful person, and perhaps lost his touch for wrestling decades ago. But if this storyline wasn't the funniest thing I've ever seen in wrestling, I don't know what is. I honestly might make a whole video talking about the absurdity of this storyline by itself, so if you guys want to see that, make sure to just drop a like on the video, and if we hit, let's say, 600 likes, I'll do that video in addition to the Grayson Waller one I said before. Anyway, the absurdity of this storyline would lead to the reveal that it was none other than Austin Theory who took Vince's golden egg, and because he literally robbed his boss, he was awarded a WWE Championship match against then-champ Big E.
Are you serious?
He was given this match for, and I quote, showing intestinal fortitude, and because that's what Vince would do. He would, of course, lose that match against Big E because, thankfully, there still kind of is a god, I think, maybe. But this whole story would begin an almost father-son relationship between Theory and Vince, where Austin would serve as McMahon's new protege, as Vince would try to groom his latest project for success in the WWE. This would lead to him being featured in the Royal Rumble event as an entrant in the titular match, lasting a respectable 22 minutes before being eliminated. He would then defeat Kevin Owens on Raw to qualify for the Elimination Chamber match, where he would be hunted and nearly game-ended by Brock Lesnar as seen here. Genuinely, this is the most brutal F5 I've ever seen. After somehow not getting injured in that spot, he went on to Mania, where in the build-up he feuded with Pat McAfee. The pair would face off at Mania 38 in a match that Theory would lose, and his encounter would be largely forgettable, if it weren't for an at the time 76-year-old Vince McMahon deciding he needed to fight and get a big win at WrestleMania, where he would take on and defeat Pat just to show the 24-year-old professional wrestler how to fight. It wasn't even over after Vince won the match. Instead, Steve Austin's music hit and Theory had the second best stunner sell in history, right before the rattlesnake turned to McMahon, and Vince then sold the stunner better than anyone in history. Genuinely, I love Vince's sell here. It's so funny every time. And while this is maybe the low point for Theory, I promise it's gonna get better. So after this, Theory would end up in the US title picture after pinning then champion Finn Balor in a 3-way tag match that also featured the Usos and RK Bro. This would earn him a shot against Balor, where the 24-year-old captured and became the second youngest United States champion in history, with the first youngest being David Flair in WCW, if you were wondering. It was also around this time that the odd call was made to change Austin Theory's name to just Theory, which was largely met with confusion more than anything else. You know, much like all the other name changes. Anywho, with Theory now as the US champ, it seemed the upstart was being positioned in a similar trajectory to that of his childhood hero, back when the man you can't see was the doctor of Thugonomics. Theory would defend the title for the first time against Cody Rhodes, who won the match via disqualification after an attack from Seth Rollins. From there, Theory would also defend the title twice against Mustafa Ali, the first time being on an episode of Raw where after getting the upper hand by blindsiding Ali, he was able to pick up the win, and the second at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where Theory was successful in defending his gold yet again. However, it wouldn't be too long until Bobby Lashley came looking for the US title and at Money in the Bank managed to capture the championship, ending Theory's first reign with the belt at just 75 days. Fortunately for Theory here, where one door closes, another opens. And the new door that opened led Theory to being put in the Money in the Bank ladder match, where the Moment Maker would manage to secure the briefcase, thus becoming the youngest person in history to hold the contract. This was almost certain to make the guy a world champion and legitimize him in kayfabe as a credible world title contender at the very least. Except he continually failed to cash in on then supremely dominant champion Roman Reigns before nuking the credibility of Money in the Bank contract by not only cashing on the United States title but also failing to cash in on his softened up Seth Rollins! This may sound like hyperbole, but I genuinely feel this is one of the worst booking decisions made by WWE in the last 10 years. This almost single-handedly put into question the value of the Money in the Bank contract, as well as made Austin Theory look like the biggest loser I have ever seen. Mind you, I know they booked themselves into a corner here since Roman was the only world champion at the time and he surely wasn't losing to a cash-in, but come on, man. Like, even if instead Theory cashed in on the NXT title or something, you could argue is elevating that championship in some way, or that it's still sort of kind of like a world title, I guess. Hell, even a worst case scenario, he probably should have won the US title here, because you know, he ended up doing it anyway just a few weeks later at Survivor Series. But instead, the Money in the Bank contract had its credibility shot completely here. Oh, it makes me so angry. Alright, I'm cooling down, back to the video. However, with Theory now as the US champion yet again, maybe he'll properly get over before they opt to put him into the world title picture. And listen, this time he held the title for a total of 258 days, where in that time he even successfully defended the title inside of the Elimination Chamber, on Raw against Edge, and even against his childhood hero John Cena at WrestleMania 39 in what was widely considered a mid at best match. He would drop the title on August 11th to Rey Mysterio, and following this he was a little lost. His gimmick was pretty much just being a guy on the roster at this point, because they took the whole selfie shtick away from him, and while his in-ring work was stellar, there wasn't really any character to accompany that work rate. Because of this, it became woefully apparent that Theory just wasn't that interesting on his own. However, an injection of life into the career of Theory would eventually come in the form of Grayson Waller and A-Town Down Under. Genuinely, from day one of watching them together, I really felt these guys had solid chops as a tandem, and as Theory became involved in fairly high-profile segments like the one with The Rock, which afforded him the nickname of the $150 million man, I couldn't help but feel that his stock was on the rise. A-Town Down Under would compete for the undisputed tag titles against Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes on October 13th during an episode of Raw in what was genuinely a really good match. However, where the pair would further showcase their excellence would be during the Grayson Waller effect segments, such as the one at Elimination Chamber featuring Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, where the heel duo did a fairly solid job at holding us over until Mania, by giving the Visionary and American Nightmare a pair of baddies to put the smackdown on before Rocky and Roman. And in that segment, the pair generally seemed to impress people backstage, as during Mania they were booked to capture the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, which would of course now be known as the WWE Tag Team Championships. And all in all, the pair are enjoying a solid little title reign so far. Now, to reel it back in on Austin Theory to close out this video, despite Vince being gone, it seems people backstage still do see a lot of potential and value in Austin Theory. Guys like Randy Orton have gone out and said they see him as a future world champion, and while I think it's best that he's paired with someone or a couple someones like we've seen with The Way as well as an A-Town Down Under, once the guy manages to find the right gimmick as a singles wrestler, he's going to be the kind of guy to look out for. And as of right now, I really think he's on the rise. But all that being said, I'm curious on what you think about Austin Theory. Where is he lacking in your opinion, and what's your favorite moment of his so far? For me, it's just gotta be that stunner cell. Anyways, be sure to scroll down and click the like button if you enjoyed, and remember that if we hit 400 likes in this video, I'll be sure to make another highlighting his tag team partner, Grayson Waller. So subscribe so you don't miss that once it's out. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go pop some bottles. As always, I hope you stay safe, and that was Dylightful.